This is killer right here, alright? So most people, this wouldn't have even registered, but look at what he does here, okay? He goes to take a drink, but then instead of actually drinking, he holds the glass up to his mouth and then engages her back in conversation. Yes, boy! In this video, I'm going to break down the conversation skills of Daniel Craig in the train scene from Casino Royale, and by watching this video all the way through, you're going to be able to start flirting with girls just like James Bond.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
Alright, so she arrives onto the scene in dramatic fashion, so shows up, throws a bag down and self-proclaims, "I'm the money." And you can see Bond isn't fazed in the slightest. In fact, he's actually pretty amused by it, and instead of rushing to give a response, he actually takes 4 seconds before he says anything. This is the first practical point I want you to take away. So when you're flirting with a girl, take your time more in conversation. So don't be in such a rush to fill in the silence, but instead let the silence do the work. Let's watch that sequence again.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
Most guys would be taken aback by this brash beginning, but he simply takes his time, he marinates in the moment, and once he's collected his thoughts, responds with a carefully crafted, witty one-liner. Essentially, he's saying to her, "You're hot," without needing to be explicit. So this is the art of insinuation, which we're gonna cover in a moment, but before that, I want to talk to you about something called amused mastery, which is immediately apparent in this opening exchange. James Bond is a character that embodies something known as amused mastery. So amused mastery is a character trait of high-value men that makes them radiate a quiet confidence. Really simple. This is a man who's seen shit, alright? He's had plenty of real-life experience with women, with danger, with adversity, and the impression James Bond gives off is, look, I've seen it all before, no matter what, I can handle it. And this amused mastery gives him an unshakable frame, okay? So he's as comfortable in the chaos as he is comfortable in the calm. So if you want to develop an unshakable frame and radiate this amused mastery, then one of the most practical things you can start doing right now is to do what scares you on a daily basis. Right now, make a list of 3 things that currently scare the shit out of you and make a point this coming week to start doing them. So maybe you're scared of asking a stranger for directions. Do it. Maybe you're scared to tell a woman who you don't know that she looks beautiful. Do it. Maybe you want to join a boxing gym, but you're scared of going there because you don't know anyone. Just say fuck it and go. The more wins you can stack throughout your life, the more self-accomplished you will feel, and ultimately, the less you will be fazed by the shit tests of life.
The Treasury has agreed to stake you in the game.
Vesper. I do hope you gave your parents hell for that.
This is a beautifully delivered tease, okay? So if you're a guy who struggles to make his conversations with girls playful, then something you can start doing is teasing girls. Now be careful, because teasing can easily become offensive if your delivery sucks balls. And delivery is not just about your tonality. Delivery is holistic. So your eye contact, your body language, the emphasis you place on certain words, all these things contribute to your overall delivery. I cover teasing as well as other ways to flirt with girls in the provocateering chapter of my course, Conversation Killer. So if you're someone who struggles to make your conversations with girls playful, then this one chapter alone is going to be a game changer. Let's look at how he actually delivers that tease one more time.
Vesper. I do hope you gave your parents hell for that.
So we can see he's got the little smirk, the smiling eyes, the relaxed, open posture. He's sat up straight, alright? So he's not slouching as he says what he says, or he's not fidgeting nervously after the words have been delivered. He owns his words by owning his delivery.
Thank you. Your boss must be well connected. I've never seen so much go out the door so quickly.
Quite so stylishly.
So Bond, as we touched on earlier, is an expert at the art of insinuation. So here he compliments Vesper without needing to be super direct. So he's not explicitly saying, "You look stylish, I like ya." the compliment is instead delivered indirectly. So let's say you're on a date with a girl at a fancy bar and you wanted to do something similar. You wanted to pay her a subtle compliment without explicitly complimenting her directly. So as you're looking around the room, you could say something like, you know, this bar is absolutely beautiful. Pause, leave a beat, and then look at her with those James Bond-esque smiling eyes. And follow it up with something like, everything in here looks fantastic. My eyes are very happy right now. And you're saying the, my eyes are very happy right now, whilst you're looking at her. Smile, take a drink, fucking mic drop.
May I ask you where it is?
This is killer right here, alright? So most people, this wouldn't have even registered, but look at what he does here, okay? He goes to take a drink, but then instead of actually drinking, he holds the glass up to his mouth and then engages her back in conversation. So rather than releasing the tension, he maintains it. Now, this gesture is subtle, but it communicates to the woman, you have my attention, we're not finished yet. Zan Perion talks about something similar in his book, The Alabaster Girl. So in that book, Zan explains that interrupting a girl can actually be a highly effective way to spike her emotions and demonstrate that you're actually listening to her. So let's say you're talking with a girl and she's telling you about a recent experience she had. So she might say, yeah, so last summer I went to Vietnam on my own because I'd always wanted to go since I was a little kid, but just never got round to it. So I decided to book a flight and wait, this is the interruption. Wait, you went to Vietnam on your own? That must have been pretty intense. When you interrupt in this way, it doesn't come across as you being rude. It comes across as you being captivated by what she's got to say. You're not just hearing what she says, but you are actually listening and making her feel witnessed with your words. And a woman who feels witnessed feels beautiful. And if you can make a woman feel beautiful, you're onto something very special. So next time you're flirting with a girl, I want you to actually listen to what she says, and when she says something that genuinely interests you, interrupt her from a place of intrigue to spike her emotions and make her feel witnessed.
I suppose you've given some thought to the notion that if you lose, our government will have directly financed terrorism.
Okay, so look at that steely, unflinching eye contact. So this eye contact is different to the smiling eyes we saw before. He's now sporting a more piercing gaze, which showcases that dark, masculine edge, synonymous with Daniel Craig's portrayal of James Bond. So she has shit-tested him, being like, if you lose, we're gonna have problems. And the look he gives her conveys the message, lose? I'm not going to lose. Again, he's letting the silence do the work, but this time it's done to convey certainty in his own capabilities rather than to project playfulness. This is key. When you're flirting with girls, you need to be able to cultivate both types of energy. So light and dark, high and low, yin and yang. Yes, you want to be playful, but you don't want to be a pushover. To become the full package, you want to have the charm, the playfulness, the lightheartedness, but you also need to balance it with the ruthlessness, the unapologetic sexual edge, as Carl Jung would say, the shadow side, to create that palpable man-to-woman polarity. Remember, she doesn't want an equal, she wants a superior. So, really practical. When you're flirting with a woman and she says something to provoke a reaction or to test your balls, rather than scrambling to think of a witty response or trying to defend yourself with an avalanche of words, simply train yourself to sit in the silence, give her that steely glance, and allow your message to be conveyed non-verbally.
What looks good? So you're telling me it's a matter of probability and odds?
Well, only if you assume the player with the best hand wins.
So that will be what you call bluffing.
You've heard the term.
I like this bit here where he's like, oh, you've heard the term. So he holds the gaze for a good 3 seconds and then gives this response which communicates, well done, I'm impressed.
Then you'll also know that in poker you never play your hand. You play the man across from you.
But then look at that shift in tonality. He's smiling one moment and then serious the next. That combination of light and dark energy again. Alternating between the two energies gives his conversations a seductive unpredictability, which is what you want to cultivate in your conversations to keep girls guessing. So for you, when you're flirting with girls, yes, you need to know how to have a laugh, how to be expressive, but you need to balance this with that dark masculine dominance, alright? You can be amusing, but you also need to be assertive. Like, women are always saying, find you a man who can do both. So when you're in your conversation with girls, don't allow one energy type to dominate your conversation. You don't want to be too playful, you don't want to be too serious. It's like finding that Goldilocks type of energy level.
And you're good at reading people.
Yes, I am. Which is why I've been able to detect an undercurrent of sarcasm in your voice.
This is good as well. So he's calling her out on her bullshit, alright? He's saying, I can detect an undercurrent of sarcasm in your voice. So essentially he's challenging her, and we cover challenging in detail in Conversation Killer. And essentially he's not putting her on a pedestal. He's treating her like a human rather than as a hot girl.
You don't think this is a very good plan, do you?
What else can you surmise, Mr. Bond?
About you, Miss Lind? Well, your beauty's a problem. You worry you won't be taken seriously.
Your beauty's a problem, like, what a line. This time, he penetrates her mood with a hyper direct compliment. So he's saying, your beauty's a problem. So in other words, you are fucking beautiful. And you can see from the subtle change in her facial expression, like, see how it softens slightly, that the compliment has cut through the frosty facade. I think as well, this compliment hits deeper because it's the first time he's given her a direct compliment. Like, it's all been insinuation up to this point. So when you're flirting with women, at some point, make sure she gets that direct validation from you, alright? Remember, beautiful girls beneath their beauty are just as insecure, or perhaps even more so than you. Alright, and sometimes girls will flake or say things like, I'm not really feeling it, because you haven't made them feel individually beautiful, alright? She's left thinking, why me? Like, what actually is it about me that he likes? So when you're flirting with a girl, make sure she knows what it is about her in particular that you're attracted to. So maybe it's her sense of humor, maybe it's her energy, maybe it's a quirky personality trait that you've noticed. I find it most conducive to compliment a woman on both physical and personality traits, alright? Like, if you just compliment her physicality, she'll feel hot, but she won't feel beautiful. And if you just compliment her on her personality, yeah, she'll feel seen, but she won't feel desired. So compliment both aspects, the physical and the personality.
Which one can say of any attractive woman with half a brain?
True, but this one overcompensates by wearing slightly masculine clothing.
So at first, she's batting off this compliment with, oh, you know, you can say that about anyone, to which he responds, true, but this one, and then he goes on to list her particular qualities. Again, why her? Why her in particular? What is it about this girl that you find attractive?
Being more aggressive than her female colleagues, which gives her a somewhat prickly demeanor.
All right. Now, having just met you, I wouldn't go as far as calling you a cold-hearted bastard.
No, of course not.
I really love this bit as well. So even though this on paper sounds like a criticism, like cold-hearted bastard, it's actually a compliment. Bond knows that this is her way of saying, I want to fuck you, and he just goes along with it. And as she increases the intensity of her verbal onslaught,
But it wouldn't be a stretch to imagine. You think of women as disposable pleasures rather than meaningful pursuits.
he just sits back and soaks it all in. Like, look at the difference in body language here as well. She's leaning forward, very invested. He's just sat back. He knows who he is, he knows what he's about, he knows that she's into him, so he's just sitting back and letting the silence do the work again, and taking everything she says at this point as a compliment.
So as charming as you are, Mr. Bond, I will be keeping my eye on our government's money and off your perfectly formed house.
You noticed.
Your perfectly formed arse, alright? So this compliment is a beautiful moment of release on her part where she almost just can't help herself, right? She has to reveal her hands just like in a game of poker and cut through the bullshit. It's like, yeah, you're a ruthless, cold-hearted bastard, but I really want to fuck you. And look at the way Bond receives this compliment, yeah? Nice and chilled, not getting carried away, being like, oh my god, a girl likes me. Remember, that amuse mastery again. He knows what's up, he's seen it all before, it's no big deal.
Even accountants have imagination. How was your lamb?
Skewered.
Skewered. So, we've been talking about the art of insinuation. Like, listen to this innuendo, alright? I don't think I need to explain what imagery this conjures up, but the delivery behind it is on point. Like, the actual timing of his words is impeccable. People often forget that, as well as being the ultra-masculine man of action, James Bond also has got that killer sense of humour. No, don't become a comedian, be cracking jokes every 5 fucking seconds, but having a good grasp on humour. So actually being funny and dropping these quick-witted one-liners into your conversations is, for me, the cherry on top, and it stops you being perceived as the one-dimensional robotic alpha. Like, really practical, watch comedy, spend time around funny people, actually have more fun in your day-to-day life, and you'll be able to effortlessly bring in some humour whenever the moment calls for it.
Old sympathizers.
Good evening, Mr. Bond.
Good evening, Miss Lind.
So for me, this entire conversation feels like a game of poker where Vesper is testing Bond's capacity to deal with high-stakes situations. And the final thing I want you to take away from this conversation is shit tests from women are good things. When a woman shit tests you, she is essentially screening you on a biological level to determine your strength as a father, as a protector. What I found is the hotter the girl, the more she'll actually test your balls, which makes sense because hot girls, they know their worth and they ain't gonna settle for any old bum who approaches them. So remember, to flirt with girls, just like James Bond, let the silence do the work. Have a mixture of both light and dark energies. Get your delivery on point and make sure to build your character as a man by doing what scares you on a daily basis so you can handle whatever life throws your way. And if you want to learn how to have killer conversations that astronomically set you apart from every other guy, then click the link in the description to get instant access to Conversation Killer, available right now at its lowest ever price.
You stay sexy, okay?